Greetings. Welcome to a very special Motley Monday here at the Crone House. We're so excited. We're doing a lot of preparations today. Well, pretty much most of the week we'll be doing some preparations for Samhain coming up. Very exciting about Samhain this year. I wanted to show you a couple of things, talk to you about a couple of things we're doing specifically. The first thing I want to show you is I'm getting my ancestor candles ready because we're going to be using ancestor candles in two ways. We're going to first of all use them for an altar. For our altar, we have a regular ancestor altar in our bedroom of sorts. Sometimes we use it in more elaborate fashion than others, but it's there all the time. But this year for Samhain in my front hall here, I'm going to change my Buddha altar, move Buddha over to another table in the foyer here, and do some special things for the ancestors on my in my space where my Buddha altar normally stands. And I'm going to include some of my ancestor candles on there and some other things. So I'm going to be getting the final prep done on that. But also my husband and I are going to be having a dark dinner. And I'll tell you more about that in another video, I think. But I'm getting some candles which are going to be on the table there for that dinner. Now, I've done these before. I've done them many times. I've done ancestor candles also that did not have people on them. They just had some images. But, I don't know, several years ago, I started putting images on them all the time. And as a matter of fact, I have one here. I hope you can see that. This is a copy of my grandmother as a young woman. And I've had this candle. We had a Halloween witch's tea for Samhain in 2019, I believe. I think so. I don't know what year. I think it was 2019. And I had a lot of these ancestor candles made. And then I transferred them after the tea was over and Samhain had ended. I transferred these candles into my parlor, and I was using them one at a time on an ancestor space by my spell table that I had set up for ancestor work. And this is my grandmother. She was the last one. She's not. I still have her to do, but she can come to this party. She can come here. So I have her, and then I'm going to make a few more. And I realized I never really did a very good image. I think I did a video long ago when I put images, but I don't think I ever did one that I had photographs on. And I think it's a really neat thing to do. Now, you will notice, one thing you might notice, that she probably looks a little faded. I don't know how good this is focusing on her. But this was, first of all, a very old, this picture had to be taken, in the early part of the 20th century, like I would say around, she looked to be about 20 in that picture, and so I bet she was probably 18 or 20 in this picture. So it was probably around 1918 or so that this picture was taken. So the quality is not that sharp. And then it's been on this candle under wax for several years now. And I want to say, but I like this look. First of all, it's good. I'll show you how to do it. It's a preferred way. But there's another way to do it that ends up this way. This is Joe's parents, taken probably in the, looks like the 1970s perhaps, or 80s maybe. I don't even know if you can see how good it is. The light is in here. But, you can see the image is a little sharper. But to me, this it doesn't look right. It looks like a picture stuck on a candle. Now, we're going to use it, and it's perfectly fine. But this is not my preferred way, and I'm going to show you why. When you see how I make them, why. You can do it this way, but it's really not preferred. And then this year, I had pictures of including my parents, and I found pictures of them individually that I used, and I took the photograph and I made a copy of the photograph on my copy machine. but they were like, you know, this 5 inches tall or whatever. They were much too big for a candle. So then I reduced the photograph so they're small. And this is not really a preferred photograph of my father because this is dark. This is his army photo from World War II. And this is not a really good picture. It's a handsome picture of my father, and it's really good, and I can see it pretty well. But as we reduce it, and we, it's going to be a little hard for you to see, I'm afraid. So, but my mother's is a little, it was the same size, and we reduced that, but it's a light background. So when you're choosing photographs, if you want to do this, I suggest the light background is much easier to see on most candles, okay? And you can tell, because this is my father's photograph, and this is his image I put on a candle here, and I think you might have trouble seeing it, I'm not sure, but it's dark. It's dark to see. I can see it well, but you can't probably. So, but you use the candles that you have. I love to use white. You can use black, but you see, if we used a black candle, it really wouldn't show up. So I use other black candles with them. But I like to use, at this time of the year, black or white or purple usually, or I use some orange sometimes. Those are just the colors I normally do. Sometimes some red. I hear a noise, this very suspicious noise, like a cat digging at something. I'm not sure what. Okay, so anyway, I want to show you the process. It's really easy. First of all, you need a photograph, like I said, reduced to a size that you, and copied on a machine, so it's just on paper. Reduced to a size that will fit on a candle. Any size candle will work. I'm going to put my mother's image on this candle, which you should be able to see it pretty well, okay? This purple candle, and these are not new candles. I've been using these. They don't have to be new. And as a matter of fact, once these are done, once they start to burn down, you're going to be able to, this will burn, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. But it'll be fine. But in case it doesn't, it might just come loose from the candle. If that's the case, you can take it off. And then, of course, if you don't want to use the candle for any other purpose, you can always melt this wax down and use the wax again and make new candles. Nothing goes to waste. Nothing goes to waste, at least not here at the Crown House. Okay, so what do we do after how do we get them from here to the candle, to here? How do we get them from there to there? Okay, the best way to do it, I have found, is first of all to transfer this image onto tissue paper. Tissue paper, and I'm talking about like you would put in a gift, you know, like you buy, you know, tissue paper. This came from the dollar store. It's very affordable, you can get it anywhere. It comes in colors, but for this, to make it better, a better product, you want to use white because the idea is what's going to happen is the tissue paper is going to just cover. You're going to print the image on tissue paper, and then you're going to cover that with wax paper, simple wax paper that you buy in the store. Okay, that you use put in your cookie tin, line your cookie tin with, right, or whatever you use it for. That's what I use it for. But anyway, this is it, because this has wax. Your candle has wax. This has wax. So if you have a tissue image in between, that's what you're doing. You're making a sandwich, a wax sandwich with your picture in between on tissue paper. And then you're going to use a hairdryer. And this hairdryer belongs to my hens, because my husband and I don't use a hairdryer, but it's a nice little cheap model. I use this on my hens only when they get a bath. Sometimes sometimes they have pasty butt, they have to have a little tubby, a little spa, and we don't want their feathers to be wet, so after they're done, I fluff them on a very low setting on the hairdryer. Just fluff, fluff, fluff. They try to dry them off a little bit before they go back outside. And it works really well. So they let me use this. I have their permission. They let me use it for this purpose. But I like particularly that I can make it on high or low. You have to have different speeds, because I'll show you why too, because it gets very hot. Okay? So why do we want to put it on the tissue paper? And first of all, how do we want to put it on tissue paper? Well, I'm going to show you I'm going to show you that in a minute when I change my camera, but I want to say one of the reasons that we do it on tissue paper is we like, first of all, it's easier, it adheres better. because when you have thin tissue paper, what happens is the image, when you put the wax paper on, when you're using heat over the wax paper, the heat from the candle will help the picture, the tissue paper picture, adhere to the candle, and the wax paper, the wax from the wax paper will adhere on top of the candle, and it'll just make it nice and smooth, like it's all a part of it. Okay? So, like on this one, I just used the paper image itself to see if it was possible. And I can feel a little ridge. It's not bad, but it's a little ridge there. It was a little harder to cover. It was a little harder. It took me a little harder to get it to stick down. But the other thing is, it looks like this. But we're talking spirits here. The spirits of our ancestors. This image is just more conducive to me for the atmosphere to have an image of the ancestors. It looks more, it just puts me in that, in that place. I don't know how to explain it any other way, but it's just the aesthetics of it. It just, to me, this looks like a picture slapped onto a candle. Perfectly acceptable, but to me, this is a little bit more, like we're being visited from the spirit realm, and that's just what I feel. Okay, so I'm gonna say that's the best way to explain it. The best way to show it is to show you how to make it, and that's going to be real quick, and I'll show you right now. Let me change my camera. I'm not very good at getting camera angles right. I hope this is okay. But again, this is the image that we have of my mother that has just been copied, reduced and copied on regular printer paper. Okay, but I wanted it on tissue paper. So in order to do that, you need to take the image and you need to make a copy of this image just as it is. But instead of making it on just tissue paper, on printer paper, we have taken this printer paper and we have, you could probably see, there's tissue paper on top of a plain white paper, a plain white printer paper with tissue paper cut a little smaller. I think instead of 8.5 by 11 paper, we would make this 7.5. The tissue paper 7.5 by 10 by 7.5, so that we have a 1/2 inch all around. Okay, and then we just put tape on, and we have to tape the edges, so then we can feed the tissue paper and the paper into the feeder, into the printer, just like it's a piece of paper. But if you have any loose edges, it will jam up in your printer. Okay, so this week, forget about my mother being on here. It was just a plain piece of paper. And then we cut a piece of tissue paper, one layer of tissue paper, 1 inch smaller on both directions, so that we could have a 1/2 inch all around, and tape that down with Scotch tape. Okay. Then we put the picture into the printer, and this paper was fed into the printer. So instead of it being printed out on paper, it was printed out on tissue paper, which you can see very carefully when I cut this. See if I cut this so that it's free of the margins where it's taped. I can show you that it is, in fact, printed on tissue paper, and there's the paper. You see? So I can cut that off and get rid of this. Okay, and then I'm left with the image on tissue paper. Just like that, okay? So I'm going to cut it out from the tissue paper as carefully as I can, but it's white, so it's going to just look like it has a little border. Usually the tissue paper will kind of disappear, even if you have a colored, I tried it with colored paper. And this is an estimate because it's going to just be on the candle. Okay. And remember, this is a candle. This is not art class, right? We already talked about that. It doesn't have to be. Okay. So now this tissue paper picture will go on the candle. Go on the candle like that. I don't like that black line there. I'm going to cut that off. There we go. Okay, so this will go on the candle. But then we have to put on top of that, to get it to stick, we're going to put some wax paper. I just need it a little longer than, a little wider than the picture. Oops. Can't use that one. I'll tell you why in a minute. It's because I want to use the excess wax paper to hold on to this candle. So if I just get it where I want it, and I usually put it a little bit closer to the bottom than the top because it's going to burn down. And it's still, you can burn it with it. It takes a long time for a candle to go that far. It just looks better. And I kind of put it in the middle. And then see, I have this extra in the back. I use that because I have to keep it tight, and it helps me, gives me a place to hold on to the candle with my fingers out of the way, because this gets hot. This gets hot when I try to do this. Here we go. Is that better? Do I have a glare? It gets hot, and all I'm going to do is use my hair dryer. And the reason I said you want one with a couple speeds is because it gets really hot, and you don't want to, as a matter of fact, I'm going to cut this a little closer down. I'm going to take about an inch off of this. Kind of a mess. Okay. You want to, be able to adjust. If it gets too hot, you want to be able to cool it off for a few minutes, but you don't really want to stop. You want to just keep going. Okay, there we go. Now I can hold on to it back there. And I'm going to turn it on high, and what will happen, you can see that you can't barely see through, but you might be able to tell. I hope you can see it on the video, but as I do this, I have to hold it up here. We're going to start seeing the wax melt, and we're going to start seeing the dark spots. And when all this darkens, then we know we're done, okay? So this is going to be noisy, and I apologize to people who don't like noisy videos, but I can't help it. I need to have the hairdryer moving. Okay, so I'm going to just turn it on, and then you'll see. And I kind of keep it moving. I hope you can see it, and now it is all darkened, and I'm just looking for places that I can still see that's lighter, and I'm going to hit it with that. But I want to tell you that the main reason that we have the low is it can burn your hands off, and you have to keep it moving because it's a candle and it will melt. Like I said, this is a candle and it will melt. So I want to take it off carefully. I hope it is. It should be good. And you can see I have a little bit of, it's stuck, but I can see a little bit of wax on there. So I'm going to put it on low and melt those bits of wax. Keeping it moving. See, if I did this on high, I would be melting my candle too. Remembering that this is a candle, but see, it takes off all the extra wax. And it's not hot because this is just on low. You want to make sure it's laying nice and flat. And you can see, you can see hopefully her image, my mother's image, has become really a part of the candle, as has my father's. They're a part of the candle. Where this one of Joe's parents, it's like it's stuck on there. Like it's still good, but this is what I'm going for. This is what I really want on my ancestor altar. I love it. I love the candle is old and it's kind of discolored, some of it because I've used it for a while. It's been stored for a while. So it just gives a really lovely ambiance of what an all should be on the altar. But look, she has become a part of the candle, just like my grandmother has come a part of this one. Okay. Again, it's a little harder to see. It's a little harder to see. The photograph wasn't quite as clear, but I think we can see what it was. So there you have it. This is a real quick, a fun project to do on your altar. Ancestor pictures are really lovely to put on in whatever way you wish to do. And then, or at your dinner or whatever you're doing. It's really lovely. It's a really lovely way to have their presence, their physical presence as much as you can have while you're waiting for their spiritual presence to maybe visit. I'm going to put a link with this video down in the description box to the video I made on this little ghost. I think I made him in 2020. I'm not sure. I think I did during my 30 days of Halloween, but I'll find it for you. But I love him. He's made out of cheesecloth, and he's really beautiful. And he has stayed since that time 2 years in a little plastic box we've stored with some other things, and he's still as good as new. And these, you see a lot of these, and sometimes you see them made with like a starch, and I talk about that in the video. I'm not going to show you how to make him because I showed you in another video, but I'm going to say that he inspired me this year because I thought I was going to make some little ones, some wee ghosts for the bathroom. I'm going to use them as night lights in the bathroom. So I wondered, how can I make a small one? How can I do that? Because I thought they would be so cute. And I have a little shelf in my bathroom under a mirror in there that is just cries out for stuff. I put some spirit dolls, I think, last year in there, and no, it was some skeletons, I don't know. It was really fun. I always do something different in there. So this year I thought the little wee ghost would be cute. So I want to show you that video. I'm not going to redo it because that video was very, very detailed about how to make it. So you should be able to follow that and make one of your own, or one better than your own. But anyway, I just want to show you how simple they are. And the reason I love them, I use these little tea lights, usually white one, but they just, it would just sit there. It would just sit under, you turn it on, and then you have to worry. You don't want to use flame under them, of course, because then you will, you'll start a fire. Not so good. So I'm going to show you today. I was trying to figure out what size to make, and I thought this is a good size. We have these glasses that if I had one this big, it would fit the tea light. So that's good. And then this would be a cute little ghost, and we could probably line up a line of them on the shelf. So this is what I thought. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just tell you a few things what you need. First of all, we need a white glue of some kind, and this is just plain old school glue, Elmer's plain old glue. which I had a little bit of rage. I don't even know why I had this before, but I think any kind of glue, like tacky glue, Aleene's or whatever, or Michael's or whatever you use, some kind of tacky glue is fine. And this is really good, especially if you want to do it with children, because this is real safe to be used around children. And but what we do is we mix equal parts of this and water. Simple as that. And we just make a solution, mix it up real good, and you can see that again in the video. And then we take cheesecloth. This hangs in the aisle in the grocery store in case you're not sure what it is. It always is hanging there. It's not good for a lot of things, but it's good for ghosts, really good for ghosts, because you can see through it. I mean, it has a really open weave, and it's really lovely for ghosts because then they're very, you don't want anything opaque that, you know, well you could, but it doesn't work quite the same. So that's this, I got that. And then you cut this to the length you think you want it to go. And again, look at the video so you can see how I do it. And you drape it over your ghost. Okay. Now, what do I make this, the aperture, whatever this is, the foundation of the ghost? How can I make it this size? Well, I thought first thing I need a head. What can I make for a head? And I think I used an orange. I'm not sure what I used for him. Oh, but anyway, another thing I want to show you need, just some kind of a pan. I protected my pan first with aluminum foil, and then I put down saran wrap on top of that, like the saran wrap here, aluminum foil first on the, to cover the bottom. And then I used like a saran wrap, like a cling wrap or something, that you put on top of it, because I didn't do it when I made him. And what happened was when he dried and I went to remove him from the foil, I ended up with this mess. You see, there's still foil stuck to the bottom. I had to rip that off. It was really hard to get that off. Glue is glue. Glue is glue. You gotta remember that. So it was okay, but I didn't want to mess with that this year, so I got smart and I put this cling wrap on top. So the glue that should come off of the glue probably easier. And if it doesn't, at least it's not silver and whatever. Okay. So if I want it to be this big, I want to make a head, or sort of a head or whatever. And I had the mailers for the ads coming. So I thought, oh, let's just make a ball out of that. And then we'll take some saran wrap and we'll wrap up the ball. Okay. So let's just crunch it into a ball and see. We can make different sizes. You can make them tall or large, or however you want your shape to be. I don't think if I'm going to use a couple, you know, if I'm going to do a couple different ghosts, I don't want them to all look the same. I want them to look different. So I'm going to be really freeform with this. And I just want to make the ball and stick it in the cling wrap. And that's going to hold it in place, because cling wrap, you know how it clings to itself and not to what you're wanting it to cling to. Well, and I can make it any shape. It doesn't have to be round, because look, his has a little round, but it's not. I can't seem to do this. His has a little round, but you know, it doesn't have to be round. We see ghosts of all different shapes and sizes. So I thought of doing that. Here's this form, and then I can open up the bottom a little bit. And I can stick it, to the glass, maybe. I'm not sure. If I wanted rubber band, I could tie a rubber band on there. But what I think I should do is just take another piece of this and hold it in place. Because he doesn't have to have a neck. He's a ghost. They don't really have much of a neck. And I hold it down like that just to get, so now I have a little bit of a rounded top. We're just trying this. I mean, we're going to see how it works. And I forgot a step. Before I made the arms and I put the head down on the arms. You'll see that from the video. But since I'm going to have this upside down, I'm not going to have, that. So I have to put the arms, fashion some arms or something. And I'm going to fashion it out of aluminum foil. And it doesn't need to be much, but I want it the long way, because then I can use the extra And I just want to sprinkle it and make some, let me do down here with the camera. Where's the camera? Here. I have so many projects, going to have a lot of stuff on my table. Okay, I'm just going to roll it so that I have kind of arms. One big long arm, because it's stiff. If you roll it, then it's stiff. Okay, now I'm going to take my little head and I'm going to put my arms, under it. And then I'm going to put that down on my glass. Okay. And then I have this, to get this to stay down. There we go. To get that to stay down, I'm going to use a rubber band. And I'm using a rubber band because I only have 2 hands. Why don't I go from the bottom? That'd be much smarter. If I go from the bottom. These are old. I'm waiting for it to snap because it's an old rubber band. There you go. Okay, and just so it holds it down. It doesn't even have to be tight. And then I can take my, my arms and I can do them however I want them. You see, I can shape them however I want them. However I want them. Because it's just going to hold up the cheesecloth. When I cut the cheesecloth and dip it into the glue and water mixture and put it on here, I will drape it and I will be able to, I can move the arms and shorten them or whatever I want to do when I'm doing it. So that they have different kind of expressions. Okay. I don't need this. Okay, so as you can see, this one, his hands are like kind of beckoning, like he's going forward. There you go. Okay, this can be however you want it to be. However you want it to be, but again, I don't think they should all be the same if you're going to use more than one in a row. And this will stay on here. It'll be fine. And the glue, the weight of the glue is going to hold it down, and it will dry in whatever shape you put it. Okay. And then when it's all done, and we're going to pull it. Make it a little bigger, have it come down and make it longer so that it pulls out around it. I can pull it out or pull it in. Again, it will stay where you put it as it's drying, and you can see this is what we're going to get. And that's the reason that we use the saran wrap on top of the aluminum foil. Okay? So that's it. That's just what they're going to be. I'll get a picture of it when it's all done. But for right now, that's how I'm going to do it. And I'm going to line up maybe, before I put my cheesecloth in the glue, I'm going to make how many of these I'll determine how many of these I want along the shelf, and then I will, when I'm satisfied, I will then do all the cheesecloth at one time and let's set them up to dry on my treated pan. And again, I'll get a picture of it later. You'll see. The only thing I did after that was when he was dry, I just added some eyes. You can add a mouth, you can add whatever you want. Or you don't have to put anything. Okay, but with a little tea light inside, it'll look cute. It'll look really cute. It'll make a perfect little night light in my bathroom for my guests that are here. Okay, if you've watched my channel for a long time, you know probably that every Samhain I carve turnips, actually rutabagas, because I love, that's the historical way of, that's where jack-o'-lanterns got their start, from carving actually a white turnip, I believe, but we call them rutabagas here in the States. And I love them. I use them all the time. I use them either outside or inside. But this year I'm doing something a little different, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to use this year. I'm going to get it a little up. Oh my. A little bit bigger. Okay, that's some of the projects we're working on. We're also getting ready for a bonfire we're having this year, like an evening with some friends out around the fire pit by the pool out here. We're going to be cooking wieners, cooking some hot dogs over the fire. And we're going to be telling some stories and singing some songs and just hanging out and relaxing and enjoying Samhain as much as we, we haven't been able to in the last couple of years. We've had fewer and fewer, for a couple of years. A lot of us had been more and more careful about who we were including in our celebrations. This year we're a little confident that we can go outside and our theme is just very casual. There's no ritual, no elaborate decorations or costumes. It's just celebrating the dead walk among us. And that's what we're going to be celebrating. So we're going to be telling some personal ghost stories, singing some songs, songs for Samhain. And we need some atmosphere. And I thought, we really I don't need the turnips so much as I need a jack-o'-lantern. It's been years since I carved a jack-o'-lantern. And they're big and it's a lot of work. But this year, we're going to have a special jack-o'-lantern. We're going to give this to our hens. It's going to be handmade. A handmade jack-o'-lantern, and let them. Because our hens always get our pumpkins after the ones that we don't cook. We offer them to them, or the jack-o'-lanterns that were carved, that are kind of wilted. They love them. They love pumpkin. So we're going to give them the pumpkin before we carve it and let them carve it. And I saw something on I don't know if it was Pinterest or Facebook or Instagram or where it was, that somebody had sent me a link to this. We're just going to score like an idea of where we might want them to pack, but we're going to let them do their own thing, free form packing. But if you scored a little bit without making a hole, and we can add something on there that we know they like, that they would go right for that place, that they might pack it a little better. We're going to see what happens. But before I do that, I have to cut out the bottom. And get that ready, because after it's been pecked, it's not going to be easy to do that, even though they will eat what's inside, but they'll peck it to death to do that. So I'm going to cut the circle in the bottom, scoop out the seeds and the pulp, because I promised my husband he could have the toasted seeds, because we either usually save them for growing, or we just let the chickens eat them when they eat the pumpkin. But I promised him he could have them, so we're going to scoop them out, hollow out the pumpkin a little bit, and get some seeds out of there, and then we're going to let them have it and see what happens. We're going to see what happens and see what kind of a pumpkin, kind of a jack-o'-lantern they can make for us this year. Handmade jack-o'-lantern. So that sounds fun. I hope you're enjoying, going to have a blessed Samhain and doing something special. It doesn't have to be special. Doesn't have to be special. Our black dinner was maybe a little special, but our dark dinner that we're going to have, that you'll see. I think I have a video coming up for that. But the dark dinner explained is we can do that. You can do that any place, just with one of you, two of you. So it doesn't have to be elaborate. You can do ancestor candles, some way to connect with the season, some way to connect with the ancestors. Take advantage of the veil being thin, and open up your heart and open up your mind. And blessed Samhain. Thanks for watching. As always, I'm Rebecca, and I wish you blessings.